I've gotten quite a few requests for some meal prep videos, and I figured it would be great to start with the most important meal of the day, which, unfortunately for many of us, is also the most ignored meal of the day. Breakfast burritos are super easy to make and even easier to heat up and eat. Better yet, this recipe is just a template that you can experiment with, so add, remove, and substitute the ingredients here until your heart's content. Start out by laying some bacon on a parchment paper lined baking sheet. If it looks like I'm using foil, it's because I was on a parchment paper. Foil works well enough, but parchment paper will absorb a lot of the grease that cooks out of the bacon so that it's not swimming in fat when you pull it from the oven. Oh, and get your bacon from the counter. It generally costs the same per pound, but you'll get thicker cut, higher quality stuff than that prepackaged that you find next to the hot dogs. Anyway, understand that you're going to eat a couple pieces of bacon before they ever make it into a tortilla. Don't lie to yourself here. So lay out as many pieces as burritos you plan on prepping, plus some extras. Place the bacon in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 18 to 20 minutes or until it reaches your desired doneness. Keep in mind though, that everyone's oven cooks a little bit differently, and different thicknesses of bacon have varying cook times, so keep an eye out while you do this. While your bacon is cooking, cut a red bell pepper into strips. I've come across a couple different ways to do this over the years, but the optimal method is to start at the top and slice down to the bottom, making sure to work your blade around the white ribs inside the pepper. Do this until you're left with the seedy skeleton of peppers past. After that, you simply cut your peppers into strips. Keep in mind though, it's better to do this skin side down. Reason being is that it's easier for your knife to go through the side that doesn't have the protective skin. This is especially true if your knife isn't as sharp as it should be. But as the great Matty Matheson said,
dull knife means you're a f***ing loser.
So keep your knife sharp, okay? Set the peppers aside and grab a red onion. We're going to slice half of this. Cut off the top of the onion so that it has a flat surface to rest on, then cut it in half directly through the root. Save one half for later and cut the root end off of the half that we're about to slice. Now you might be thinking that you can just slice the onion whichever way you want, but that would be wrong. Notice the poles running from end to end on the onion. You want to cut along these poles, not against them. Because of the cellular structure of the onion, cutting them this way will rupture fewer cells, resulting in a milder, sweeter flavor, with onions that also cook more evenly and have a better texture. This also means that your eyes are much less likely to be assaulted by the onions while you're slicing it. This, again, is another reason to keep your knife sharp, as a sharper blade mutilates the onions less. Slice the onion across, and as you get closer to your fingers and it becomes wobbly, flip the onion to the side you've been cutting to stabilize it and finish up. With the peppers and onions in the same bowl, add a splash of canola oil, a generous amount of fresh ground black pepper, and a quarter teaspoon each of kosher salt, cumin, oregano, Spanish smoked paprika, ancho chili powder, and a dash of cayenne pepper. If this spice blend looks familiar, it's because it's the same blend I used in my very first video, the fajita cake. That video is so bad I'm physically unable to watch it. Please don't click that link in the top right. Toss everything in the bowl until the veggies are evenly coated, then spread them out onto a foil-lined baking sheet. Put them into your already preheated oven with the bacon and cook for about 15 minutes or so. This time will vary depending on how thick or thinly sliced the veggies are. You'll know they're done when the peppers can be easily pierced with a fork. Crack around 9 eggs into a bowl. Get that little bit of shell out of there, and this is taking too long. Let me just flex on everyone for a second and save some time. It was actually my first time attempting 2 eggs at once, and I have to say I was quite pleased with the results. Anyway, I said around 9 because that number depends on how many burritos you're making. I wanted about an egg and a half per burrito, and I was making 6. Ergo, I used 9 eggs. Isn't simple arithmetic fun? Whisk the f*** out of those bad boys and get ready to cook them. Go to the fridge for your butter, and think about how this bit with the Nerf gun was funnier in your head, but you took the time to film it, so god damn it, it's going in the video. In a large skillet over medium heat, melt a sizable chunk of butter and pour in the eggs. If you don't have a skillet quite big enough for all of them at once, don't hesitate to work in batches. Use a rubber spatula to move the eggs around so that they cook evenly and don't brown, but be gentle as you do so, otherwise you won't get those big fluffy curds. Don't worry if you don't get it exactly right. Eggs are simple enough on paper, but take quite a bit of finesse to really do well. The final product will still be okay. What's this? A cat in the kitchen? Gross. Ignore the shitty comments and give your buddy some eggs, since he's been at your feet waiting for some scraps since you started cooking. Once the bacon is done, it should look something like this. Chop it up. There's no secret or special trick to this one, just chop it up. Now everything's ready to go. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that I'm also using black beans. There's no special prep for these. Just open a can and drain it. Lay your tortilla out and start layering the toppings on. While they may not look like much individually, they'll add up once they're all on there, so go light with everything. Now comes the tricky part. Not just for you to do, but for me to explain. Fold up the sides of the tortilla, then roll the back over top, just past the fillings. Pull the tortilla into the fillings just a little bit to tighten the burrito. Now push the ends in and finish rolling. I feel like I just explained that terribly, but hopefully it makes sense while watching me do it. Lay the burrito flap side down so that it stays shut, and repeat the process until they're all rolled. We're going to double wrap these food tubes, once with foil and once with plastic wrap. It's good to do this to ensure an airtight seal that prevents freezer burn. And that's it. Throw them in the freezer and you're all done. Now, as far as reheating goes, you can use an oven, which I did, but it takes a long time for those to heat all the way through. So maybe only do that if you have some time to wait. As for microwaving goes, I never used mine, and I may or may not have forgotten to test the cook time with that method. That said, I would guess that 5 minutes should be sufficient. Just make sure to take them out of the foil first or you're going to have a bad time. And to reiterate, this recipe is just a template. You can trade these ingredients out as you like. Hot sauce and cheese are totally viable options that I imagine a lot of you will spring for. Just don't use sour cream. It doesn't freeze well. Add that after you've already reheated your burrito. Anyway, this meal prep should save you a lot of time and energy when you start your day. So please, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment below with what you'd like to see me cook next. Enjoy! Just sounds like something you'd say to somebody while they're tripping. Hey, sorry to bug you while your world's expanding. I know you just took this 10 strip, but I got a question for you.